So what's going on, guys? My name is Violent with GRIZZ Zombies, and I'm a little bit curious about this wall in Shadows of Evil. I was promised a great war at the beginning of Black Ops 3, or at least when we played Shadows of Evil and first saw this, we were expecting some sort of great war to happen, ultimately see the Stavs return as well. So where did this information go, and how can we bring it back in today's realm? I'm going to talk about it a little bit. There's an excerpt from the Canorium that reads, "After eons of exile in the dark ether, the Great War as we know it were a battle between the Apothicans and the Keepers. Towards the end of the Great War, the Keepers were pulling forward, so the Apothicans, the remaining ones, were basically exiled into the dark ether. Only after being in this dimension of nothingness, the Apothicans evolved into the twisted creatures we now know that bear no resemblance or little resemblance to their Keeper brethren." But what about these helmets that we're seeing in Revelations? That's my real question. Are these helmets significant to the storyline? I happen to think they do. They resemble the heroes within the Great War. But this Great War was never told in gameplay. It was told through ciphers, or somewhat of audio cues, things that we've gathered together over the last couple months, even years, to try to figure out what this Great War is ultimately going to turn out to be. But why was this skipped over? That's a question I have repeating in my head time and time again. Was it too hard to make for the gameplay? Was it too challenging of an ending to conquer? I mean, what did we get at the end of Revelations? We killed the Shadow Man within like 0.5. It was easy. Nothing spectacular. If we remember back between 1917 and 1918, Richtofen had found a journal of Pablo Marinas that he said became the greatest source for finding element 115. We believe this now as the Canorium. But when we think about Black Ops 2, we think about what was there at the time, and it was the journal. We think now, what is the book form of with all the knowledge in Black Ops 3, that is the Canorium. And I mean, there is the possibility that they are two different things. I happen to think they're the same thing when you want to simplify the story a little bit. But if they are different, the journal would be from Pablo Marinas, one of the knights that fought alongside our Four Origins characters, within the Great Battle. Now, there is a difference between the Great Battle and the Great War. The Great War was fought by the Apothicons and the Keepers. What you're seeing right now is the Great Battle. This is what happens at the end of Revelations, or should have happened, in order for the Earth to be completely cleansed. And that's what we see at the end of the Revelations Easter egg. We actually see the ending and how it eventually was cured. And I'm going to show you that footage here in a bit, but looking at the mural, the Apothicans on the right-hand side, and the Keepers fighting with us. Remember, they are friendly. The Keepers are on our side, and it's not until they become corrupted where things change. There is a journal entry from Pablo Marinas. He's the knight that we saw on the mural itself, and it reads, "After the great battle, they stood upon the mound. Their light shone down and cleansed all the sickness as far as the eye could see. They are the first, they are the last. Visions of fractured worlds and strange rooms haunted our dreams." That was the final entry for Pablo Marinas in his journal. But what about this monster on the right of the mural that we're seeing here on the wall? Is that the creature in the sky in Shadows of Evil? I have to ask that question because we didn't see it anywhere else, and we know that the Apothicans pretty much were coming back into existence in Shadows of Evil. And this was the first map leading into the Giant. This, of course, does tell a different story, whereas Origins to the Giant tells the exact story of our Origins characters and where they've came from. All the helmets that we've seen in Revelations, they seem to be related to the Great Battle somehow. Remember, the Great War was the Apothicans and the Keepers. The Great Battle is when Richtofen and the Origins crew comes in and fights. I'm not sure if there's different sides here, if the right side that I'm portraying is actually the Apothican side and the left side, but it seems like they're valuable in the sense of the storyline altogether, more so than everything relating to the Great Battle. Because if all the masks were related, it wouldn't make sense. The wolf head and Al's hat, how is that related to the Great Battle in the big scope of things? I think it has more to do with breaking the cycle and how that works. This then begs the question of the blood vials and how that relates to the storyline as a whole when it comes to the Great War and the Great Battle. The blood vials seem to be the scapegoat for cursed realms. If you have cursed blood and something happens where you die, it's basically another life. You come back. Richtofen seems to know how to teleport to Mob of the Dead fairly easily to go collect more blood vials. At the end of Zetsubou no Shima, he got enough for all of our characters to hold them. So The question still remains about the Great Battle and if we're going to see that happen, since the Great War is already over. Let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think of the Great Battle. Are you a believer in DLC 5? Do you think we'll get to see this come into existence, or will it all revolve around breaking the cycle? Ultimately, I'd like to see it go either way, but I want to know what you guys think. DLC 5, let's get some hype going. Viollent out.